The QB wide receiver hookup in the championship round. What will Adrian Peterson do in the desert for fantasy owners? And what NFC South receiver's injury do you need to be watching this week? Plus, the leader in the 2017 Footballguys Players Championship, Matthew Puskarich, drops in to share why he started Ed Dixon last week, whether Will Fuller can keep his value up, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts.
What more can I say? We top billing it, stallion without billing it, viciously found victory. Burn towns and villages, burning, looting, and pillaging. Murderers try to hurt us, we curse them and all that killing. I just want the bread and bologna bundles to tuck away. I don't work for free, I am barely giving up away. So tell begging Johnny and mommy to get the away. Yo, here's a gun, son, now run, get it the gut away. Live to shoot another day.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Nobody
Thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all you Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. Right here in the beautiful studios in Northeast Wisconsin. I am your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak, coming at you on a special Wednesday night episode. Thanks for tuning in. Coming up on tonight's show, what should you be doing with the Hyde Breida timeshare? How serious is Travis Kelce's concussion? And the 2017 Footballguys Players Championship leader, Matthew Puskarich, talks about Christian McCaffrey's potential breakout game, fantasy values for Kevin Hogan to throw to in Cleveland, and much more. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, you can do so at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman, or at David Gerzak. Matthew Puskarich is on Twitter at Puski28. That's POOSKI28. You can post on our Facebook page, Facebook.com/HSFF Hour. And if you want to give us a call, the number is 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVER. HighStakesFantasyFootball@gmail.com is the email address to reach us. If you have any questions for us, now's the time to get them to us. Our producer, mutual friend Rob, our audio engineer Bryce, working very hard on a Wednesday night to get those questions to us piping hot in the fantasy feedback segment. Later on in the show, a bit of housekeeping. Normally I'm talking to you on Fridays and I say, hey, did you check out the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown? Well, you can't check it out yet this week because it hasn't come out yet. But tomorrow morning, rotoviz.com/podcast, as well as iTunes, blogtalkradio.com/rotoviz. You can check out the new High Stakes Lowdown coming out this week. Nelson Sousa and Darren Summer. Darren Summer, a guy who's won well over $250,000 playing high stakes fantasy football. Great stuff in there. He talks about one of his high stakes teams that really got hit hard with injuries, what he's doing on the waiver wire, how he's attacking that, as well as some good Jets running back stuff on that one as well. So great stuff from Darren Summer. Check that out, rotoviz.com/podcast. Dave Gerzak, welcome into the show, man.
Thanks. How are you, Balky?
Very excited to be doing this on a Wednesday this week. Made for a little bit of a hectic process trying to get the slowdown ready as well as this show, but we got a great show. I'm excited for it.
You're such a professional. I'm sure you did very well.
I'm the opposite of a professional, my friend.
Handling it.
And I'm about to show you why. I want to bring in tonight's guest right away here, ladies and gentlemen. He started playing high-stakes fantasy football season-long 7 years ago when he was looking for an auction league. Couldn't find a format that he liked until he saw the FFPC. He says for him, fantasy football is the best entertainment value he can get when looking at the cost of leagues split over a full 16-week season. He's won a few of his Footballguys Players Championship and Victory Point leagues in the past, and last year he defeated the overall Footballguys Players Championship team owned by Mike Kuzma in his league playoffs. But maybe 2017 is his year as he leads the 2017 FPC after 5 weeks of action. Please welcome into the show Mr. Matthew Puskarich. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Wednesday, Matthew. How you doing? And Matthew, are you there? Let me reach Matthew. Paging Matthew Puskarich. All right.
It's like that movie.
Here's what what movie?
where they go to talking the radio a few different time periods. The father.
Oh, Frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Jesus Christ was in that. Jim Caviezel from
right.
Passion of the Christ.
That's right.
And who's the other guy?
It
was a much more famous actor. We should know this.
Yeah, what's his name? He's in all those movies.
Was it? No, it wasn't. Was it David Morse?
No, it wasn't.
Will
him.
Patton?
No, it's a much stronger chin than David Morse.
Who was it here? God, how is this not on the opening page here? We're on the Frequency Wikipedia page. Nobody saw this coming 5 minutes into the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. There he is, Quaid, Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, Quaid,
right? Okay.
Yeah.
And Quaid played his dad.
Yeah. Great. No one gives a crap.
Well, no one gives a crap. They do give a crap about our guests. Let's try to. Yes, exactly.
Come on, are you on the CB radio?
Matthew Puskarich calling us from 1956. Matthew, are you there?
Nope.
Still not there. Still not there. We're having some technical difficulties. I hope it's not one of those.
Blog Talk Radio.
No, because last time this happened, people could still hear. You weren't here for this. We had a co-host. Last time this happened, people could hear the guest, except for I couldn't.
Right. Oh, I heard something.
I heard something there too.
What about those weird headphones you use sometimes?
That has nothing to do with it. Matthew, I'm gonna tell you to go ahead and see if you can switch to a landline, and because this might be a cell phone right here, or if you got Skype, that would also work as well.
Skype.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll try that. So Matthew, try giving us a call. One thing I should say at the top, this is Matthew Puskarich is leading the Football Guys Players Championship right now. But for anybody who's looking at this in Blog Talk Radio or saw the promos, you saw two guys in the photo. And the other guy in that photo with Matthew, off to his right, your left, is Randy Bear, who also had a lot of influence not only in drafting this team, but the lineup decisions, the waiver wire. He's been instrumental in this, integral, if you will, into this as well. So we want to make sure that we give Randy some props on the show tonight, along with Matthew. Certainly being in first place out of 7,200 teams, Dave. It's pretty crazy.
First place, that is something else.
Yeah. And we're coming up on an important part of the season, too, because now we're sitting here with 5 games under our belts. A lot of data points out there, a lot of information.
This is Hump Week.
This is Hump Week because we're doing it on a Wednesday, right?
Well, it's Hump Day, but then
it's
this
Hump
is like
Day.
Hump Week of the regular season.
I'm gonna go back to the blower here, as they say in the industry. Do we have Matthew Puskarich on the line? Paging Matthew.
I'm hoping it's working now.
You have you're sounding crystal clear. Your voice is mellifluent.
Right.
It's excellent, Matthew.
Start the damn interview.
We already gave props to Randy. We already gave props to Randy on the show about how what the role he's played in getting you into first place. But certainly it's got to feel pretty good when you look at that leaderboard and you see your team in first place right now after Week 5.
Yeah, it definitely feels great. I know it's pretty early, but anytime you're at the top of the leaderboard, it looks good.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. One of these days, Dave, I'm going to see it in my 12-team league. I'm going to be up at the top.
Did you screenshot it and send it to like everyone at work?
Yeah.
You're like, hey, dude, check this out, 7,200 teams.
No, I didn't. I sent it to all my home leagues, though. So they all know where I'm sitting there because I'm not doing too pretty in some of those.
Yeah, well, you're in like 9th place.
Who cares? Just trade that in for this success right now. Matthew, we want to get into to fantasy football talk. Before we do, tell the listeners when you're not crushing the Football Guys Players Championship through 5 weeks of action, what you do for a living.
Yeah, I actually work in implementation at C.H. Robinson. It's a supply chain and logistics company. And as exciting as that is, I also coach a high school lacrosse team.
Now that's exciting. High school lacrosse.
Yeah, Archer played lacrosse, Balky.
Archer. Oh, from the show, Archer?
Yeah, the show Archer.
Oh, okay.
Guy.
I always think of...
Those are like the stud guys.
Yeah, those are the stud guys. I always think of Ozstriker from the American Pie series, who was a big lacrosse player.
Was he?
Yeah, that's sort of my era. That's what I think of when I think of lacrosse. So.
What does Matthew say about lacrosse?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I think it's definitely a growing sport, but the reputation definitely kind of fits with that movie a little more than what it's actually like.
Oh, there you go. I've never played.
No, I never have. Do some of your players ever get recruited for like lacrosse in college? You know, because it's kind of not a sport that's all over the place.
Yeah, it's not everywhere. I'm here in Minneapolis, and we've had a couple players recruited. We have one that's starting at Ohio State who played in the national championship last year. They came up a little short, but I'm expecting some big things next year from them.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, awesome. Very, very cool stuff.
Like you try, like I would always think that's one of the back doors into the Ivy Leagues, like lacrosse or crew or rowing or whatever those. Anyway, let's talk about fantasy sports, fantasy football. You had a massive 214 point score in Week 5. And you had Big Ed Dixon, 25 points, a big part of that. Did you think that he would actually produce this monster week, or you just throw him in there and pray?
I mean, it's probably more the latter there. I thought he had a good chance to get me in 10 or 15 points, but I didn't see the 25 points coming for sure.
I think it's interesting because if you look at your team's obviously very strong. And maybe my math was wrong on this, Matthew, but I looked at your team and you had 214 for your starters, and your bench, the 10 guys in your bench had a total score of 10. Combined, those 10 players combined for 10 points. Some injuries, some bye weeks, whatever. But I think when you're looking at you're following your score, you're looking at the early games, and you're seeing Ed Dixon have like 130 yards receiving before the half, and all of a sudden he's putting up a 25, and then you're seeing Harrison Butker approach 30 points. You're having, I think you had the Jags defense going too, which obviously crushed it. When you're seeing those scores come up, you had to know that, hey, week 5 is a special week, man. I'm already in 35th place in the Footballguys Players Championship. I got a shot at taking off the overall lead. Tell us what it was like watching that score pile up.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. You know, going into week 5, I thought that was going to be one of the rougher weeks. It's, you know, one of the 2 weeks that my team's really hurt by the bye week, so that's why that bench score was so low there. But with each touchdown, you know, the 90-yarder from Fournette towards the end of the game there, you know, it definitely looks great, and I started watching that scoreboard towards the end of it for sure.
Yeah, that's so exciting to see something like that. Let's break down your draft here, Matthew. Well, not break it down, but just ask you a couple of points on it. You were the first team in this specific Footballguys league to take a third running back. So you're the first team with 3 running backs, and it was your selection at 408, Leonard Fournette. It's been paying off big time for you, even including this past week. One of the big main cogs in your 214 score.
Had a huge run.
Had the big massive run late. It looks super fast. I mean, people don't realize this. Leonard Fournette weighs 330 pounds and still runs a 3.940. Nobody understands that. It's just crazy.
Very good.
No, but Leonard Fournette, you could have taken him. You could have, skipped Fournette there and taken your first tight end. You could have taken a second receiver there. What was it about Fournette that made him the selection for you there at the 408?
Yeah, and I know you guys said you already gave credit to Randy here, who helps me with a handful of my teams, but he actually told me before our third-round pick that I should really go with him there. He's a guy who, you know, gets all the work. He's not going to get vultured by the goal line, and not very often do you see a running back drafted in the top 5, so you know how much the team liked him in there. So I was smart enough to take Lamar Miller in the 3rd instead, and then when Fournette fell to the 4th, it was really a pretty easy choice for us, even though we already had 2 of those running backs.
Yeah, Dave, Leonard Fournette, when we were doing those live events in Vegas, we didn't really see him go at the mid to late 4th out there, I feel like. That's really good value for Fournette this year.
It is. I thought he was one of the first guys going. Even when he fell just a little bit, he was still going in the mid-3rd, I thought.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Do you remember on this show, I think this was late July. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was like mid to late July. I was like talking up Leonard Fournette, and you kind of like just off the cuff said, Balky, it sounds like you actually might be drinking the Fournette Kool-Aid or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? I think I am. And you know how many leagues I got Fournette in this year? Exactly 0.0. So frustrating. So annoying. And it's one of those things. And Matthew, I'll let you talk about this a little bit regarding Fournette. We've talked about this on the show too. It's bizarre to see a team that really has no threats on offense other than Fournette. Mercedes Lewis, Hearns, Marquise Lee, none of these guys really scare you all that much. Blake Bortles does the opposite of scare you.
He scares the coaching staff.
He scares his own coaching staff. Right. He's the opposing coaches want to roll out the red carpet for him, have him over for dinner because they know it's going to be a great week, game planning for him.
Scares the salary cap guy.
It totally does. It is so bizarre to see Fournette, Matthew, succeed on an offense where really he's the only guy the opposing defense has to stop. How is he doing it?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think a lot of the credit you just got to give to the offensive line up front, and then the defense has been playing so well this year. They're putting him in spots where, you know, if it's this defense from 2 years ago or so, and they're giving up all those points in the first half, then he's probably not as involved. So I'm pretty glad I got the Jacksonville defense on the team too. And as long as they keep playing well, I think that's going to really lend to help out Fournette the rest of the year.
That's always a good pair, Dave. Starting running back, dominant defense on your same team.
Well, I think that the way the Jaguars went about rebuilding their team by going with that Moneyball type approach, they've done an excellent job on offense, except for Bortles. I mean, and then on defense, overall, I mean, so they've done a great job evaluating talent, with the sole exception of Bortles not doing all that well. They pick up Fournette. I mean, this team, if they had the quarterback,
yeah. Well, how many times are we saying that about the Texans? They had the running game. They had the receivers.
Yeah.
They had the defense. They just needed the quarterback. Now they have the quarterback. Look at what they're doing. It's crazy.
And now J.J. Watt.
And now, well, that's unfortunate.
All right, let's talk about some cooler teams like the Atlanta Falcons. You have Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. You drafted both those guys. Are you looking for the hookup in this particular instance? And are you afraid of Julio having his consummate Week 14 to 16 injury that I always predict?
I was a little worried, but if you take a look at the Falcons' schedule, they actually get the Saints twice in weeks 14 through 16. So anytime you can see the Saints twice on the schedule, you absolutely go for that.
You don't say Yahoo, you say Sanu. You need to have him on your team.
No, come on. Whatever.
You need just an extra guy.
First of all, Sanu's probably owned. I don't think he's out there.
Probably.
And I don't know if you really.
That is pretty amazing with Saints.
Saints twice. I feel like that happened with some other team had the Saints twice. Maybe not. It wasn't this past year. It was the year before. And I remember a lot of people, like a lot of the pundits, Dave, the draft pundits, talking about you got to get this, load up on these guys because they got the Saints in Week 14. And then I think it was the Buccaneers actually. I think that's what it was. It might have been Jameis Winston's rookie year.
Okay.
The Buccaneers had the Saints in Week 14, and then they turned around and they played them again in Week 16. It was crazy how that worked out.
How'd that go?
I don't remember, Dave.
Let's move on, and I'll have to look it up.
Well,
just
tell Rob to do that. We're talking our guest tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, Matthew Puskarich, the leader in the Footballguys Players Championship here as we head into Week 6. Let's talk about Will Fuller, Matthew, because he has been a mainstay in the end zone basically since he recovered from this broken collarbone. 4 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Certainly, he's not going to score 26 touchdowns, or at least I don't think he's going to score 26 touchdowns this year. But can he finish as a top 30 receiver catching balls from Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I definitely think he can. If you're going to say, will he? I'm going to say no. I'll say he's probably going to be outside the top 30 for the rest of the year. But he seems to be the type of player who's going to get, 3 or 4 more top 10 weeks, and it'll just be kind of on the people who own him here to make sure they know when to start him and look for those good spots where they might put up a handful of points.
Has it just been a perfect storm for him? He caught the one long touchdown, but I always thought of him more as like more of a deep threat guy. He runs pretty good routes. He runs a lot of the routes on the routes here. I've just always, thought of him as more of a deep guy. But he's getting in the end zone, man. He's getting these touchdowns that are, not 80-yard bombs. I mean, they're like, 15 yards out and 10 yards out and 5 yards out. He had the one long one, but I don't know. I feel like we might overvalue him right now for fantasy because of the touchdowns, but he's certainly got the tools. And you got to like Deshaun Watson in Houston, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's playing great. I think on a couple of those touchdowns he had, he wasn't the first look. So, I mean, that's credit to Watson being able to look around and get to his second or third read. But Fuller, I mean, if there was trading allowed in these leagues, he'd absolutely be on the block for me. I think he's going to be a good player to kind of plug and play when you have some bye weeks. But I wouldn't trust him, going forward every week. That's really going to go. I mean, Hopkins is the main guy there.
If there's one player, Dave, in the Blake Harrington Dynasty League that has been shopped around most, it's probably Martavis Bryant, and that's probably because of me. If there's the second player that you want to add to that list that is the most shopped player, the most talked about player, the second most, it's Will Fuller. Two-Packer cannot stop trying to trade Will Fuller in Dynasty. Every week that Will Fuller catches 2 touchdowns and Martavis Bryant has 2 targets, he lets me know about it.
He talks about it.
He does talk about it quite a bit. Will Fuller is certainly a guy that you should be, for Dynasty, where you can trade, certainly a guy that you need to be putting on the block right now. I'll tell you what surprises me about Fuller. He has this fresh quarterback in Watson, who's a rookie, by the way, obviously.
No.
He misses basically the entire preseason, or most of the preseason.
Right.
He misses the first 3 weeks of the season, comes in, and they're boom, boom, boom. They are right in sync right away. That never happens. This could be a special connection.
It could be. That's
right.
Very interesting.
Go ahead.
Oh, just real quick to go back to the Tampa Bay. That was last year.
Oh, it was last year.
It was weeks 14.
Oh, the years are running together for me, Dave.
Team, and it was a huge game. Tampa Bay. The final score was 16-11 in week 14.
Massive.
Mike Evans finished with 4 for 42. Mm-hmm. Winston had 184 yards and no touchdowns, and Drew Brees had 257 yards and no touchdowns.
This is week 14?
Week 14.
Okay.
Week 16, the score was 24-31, and the NFL.com link didn't work. So thanks a lot for nothing.
That fly-by-night organization.
You can't get a Game Center update anymore. But oddly enough, week 15 for the Saints, they beat the Cardinals 48-41. So Breeze had 400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Just crushed it.
And Brandon Cooks now, and the Patriots had a huge game as well.
Anyway, fascinating. Well, good research there by Rob/you.
Yeah, that was great. Anyway, let's talk about the waiver deadline tonight. Who'd you go for tonight, Matthew? Anybody good? And did you have a lot of money to throw around or what?
Yeah, so I actually had my full budget going into last weekend. Used it quite a bit on, Fuller, a couple other guys, and so I had about $600 left. And in our league, actually, Matt Forte was sitting on the waiver wire, so I went after him because week 8 I'm going to be struggling at running back with a couple of buys. So I put in a pretty big offer on him, hoping to see if I get him here.
Yeah, Forte is interesting too because Bilal Powell missed practice today, Dave. You look at what we can talk about this in a little bit, but you look at what the Jets' running game could be this weekend. It might be the Matt Forte and Elijah McGuire show. And think
the question is, which one is it?
Or maybe it's both. I'd be interested. I should look this up. Hold on. I want to get the total on this game because the Patriots' defense has been horrid, and that's a total of 47.5. And granted, the Patriots are a 9-point favorite, but the Jets are at home. Forte and McGuire both could be heavily involved in catching passes too. So they both present interesting start-sit questions this week.
And the Jets are 3-2, right?
Yeah, they have a winning record.
Man, that's amazing.
The same record as the New England Patriots.
I wonder if the executive who binged and purged the entire roster is like, every time they get a W, they're all pissed off. Like, God, stop winning.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
They're supposedly gonna try and get number 1 pick or whatever.
Yeah, they still might. There's a lot of football left to be played.
It tells me that some team in New York is going to have the number 1 pick.
Yeah, that's really annoying. Matthew Puskarich is our guest tonight. Footballguys Players Championship Week 5 leader as we head into football starting tomorrow. Panthers-Eagles, going to be a great game. Before we talk about those two great teams, let's talk about a team that's not necessarily as great. Duke Johnson is really the only Cleveland Brown that's been making a difference so far this season, Matthew. Is there anyone else worth owning for the Browns?
I have someone.
Now that they have made the switch from Deshaun Kaiser to Kevin Hogan, I don't want you to say anything yet, Dave.
Oh, wait. He's done.
Matthew, go ahead. Is there anybody else besides Duke Johnson that's worth owning here?
Yeah, I mean, with the deep rosters, maybe hold on to Crowell if you want to, but really the main guy outside of Duke Johnson is Corey Coleman that I would just have sitting on my bench waiting towards the end of the year. Outside of that, I'm going to say no. I mean, I dropped Njoku last week to pick up Ed Dixon, so that kind of shows you how high I view the rest of the guys there.
And that was a sharky move.
That was very sharky.
I'll say this: Njoku did catch a touchdown, but Dixon caught everything else.
Yeah, Njoku's been getting like 2 to 3 targets every week, but he seems to catch a touchdown every week or every week.
Who was your Cleveland Brown, Dave?
No, this is mostly for Dynasty.
Right.
But I'm back. I'm back on Josh Gordon, baby.
Oh, God.
He is coming back. He's going to get suspended for 4 more games, but he's getting out of rehab. They just did that 13-minute segment on ESPN. Uninterrupted. You should look at it.
I know. Listen, I don't want to
get... He even talked about how much he likes Roger Goodell.
Right. Okay. I don't want to get into this now because this is actually... We do have a section of the show dedicated to this already.
All right, great.
Hey, let me ask you this, Matthew, as long as we have you on. Josh Gordon, is he going to make it on any of your redraft rosters this year?
Hell, I hope not.
No, I mean, for these teams, I don't think I'll be picking them up. It's just, I like the depth that I've got, and I won't be picking him up. But I want to see something first. I picked him up a few times before, and it hasn't worked out for me. So I want to see it one time first.
I was looking. I was going to look at picking him up, but Balky, they're saying that he's going to be getting he violated the thing again.
Right.
So he's probably going to get a 4-game suspension even before being reinstated. So if they say, okay, you've been through like 100 days of rehab or whatever. It looks like he's clean. He's finally took this seriously. He still has 4 more games after that. So, I mean, this is really more like a 2018 thing.
I would say a minimum of 4.
Whatever.
Minimum, Dave. Minimum of 4 games. I think it's going to be more than that.
He's only 26, though. He's younger than Tyler Eifert.
That is true. And
his back is in a lot better shape, too.
He's also 15 years younger than Kelvin Benjamin, which catches a lot of people off guard, too. Go ahead, Dave. Our next question for Matthew here.
All right, you know what? I crossed off most of the questions.
Hold on, dude.
About Wendell Smallwood?
Yeah, it's about Wendell Smallwood and his injury.
All right, so Wendell Smallwood's injury, is there any clarity with the Eagles' backs between LeGarrette Blount, Corey Clement?
Yeah, Clement.
And Kenyon Barner that you want to keep on your roster?
There's not a ton of clarity. I think Blount really has that short yardage role locked down. So if they can keep scoring like they did last week, then he's a guy you'll want to think about playing when they're in good matchups. Other than that, I don't think either of those guys are going to get enough snaps or touches to kind of do what Smallwood was doing for him. They're just going to, to me, it just seems like they're going to kind of split this three ways, and Varner might not even get, his 10 to 15 snaps a game. If he got more, he'd be a little interesting with how explosive he is, but I think he's just a little more of a role player in that offense.
Yeah, Kenyon Varner, I've fallen for this too. Like, he was going to be the next Sproles, and I picked him up accordingly. Just never was. There's no
next Sproles.
Not to bring baseball into this, I will bring it. There's a litany. There's a huge long list of the greatest closers in waiting that never ended up being closed.
Really?
There's an even longer list of the next Darren Sproles that just never was the next Darren Sproles.
A small guy who's kind of compact and runs around a lot.
And he has to be black, because if there's ever a white running back that was like that, nobody puts him in that category automatically.
He's like a Welker, but he plays running back.
That's so terrible. Matthew, let's a few emails here that rolled in from listeners that wanted to pick your brain here.
He'll be the next McCaffrey in a few years.
There you go. McCaffrey, perfect example. Bobby in Fort Collins, Colorado. When will the Panthers free Christian McCaffrey? Almost like you knew this was coming, Dave.
Oh, wow. Weird.
It seems like they are more concerned with getting the ball to guys like Jonathan Stewart and Ed Dixon than they are with getting the ball to the guy they used a top 10 pick on. That is Bobby in Fort Collins, Colorado. So you look at McCaffrey, Matthew. I don't know if you got him anywhere. Obviously, a lot of FFPC owners invested a fairly high second or third round pick into getting McCaffrey on their roster, and they really have not gotten the return that they were expecting. Now, he's been all right. He had the one good game where he had 9 for 100 or whatever it was, but are we going to see a breakout game from him, and B, is it going to come this year?
We're definitely going to see a breakout game. When it's going to be is going to be that tough part to try to determine. I don't own him anywhere. I think he was being drafted a little high, and I think probably the worst thing that you can see as being his owner is that they're sitting at a pretty good record here, and until they start losing some games, I don't see his role changing a bunch because it's getting them to the win, and that's really all that they're going to be caring about in that locker room.
We talked about that on the show a couple of weeks ago. It's so frustrating when Christian McCaffrey, the negative game scripts is when he can be so good, and yet the Panthers keep winning. And it's been frustrating because they haven't had to use him, and yet they can grind out, Jonathan Stewart 30 carries for 80 yards every single game and still win the game. So it's been very frustrating as, being a McCaffrey owner, which I think I have him in a few spots in Dynasty as well, but it just hasn't been there for McCaffrey. I don't know if it happens this year as well. We'll have to see. But you know what? There's plenty of people out there that was saying before the start of the season, look, that McCaffrey might be a better NFL player than he is a fantasy player, at least for his rookie year. We'll have to see what happens with that going forward. Dave, you have to be nonplussed as a big McCaffrey supporter.
I'm not too worried about it.
For this year, though?
I mean, he's a running back 15 right now.
That's not bad.
You know what I mean? For sucking.
Think about where he was drafted. That's my point. He was not drafted as the 15th running back off the board.
In fantasy?
No, in real.
I'm saying in redraft.
Yeah. He wasn't the 15th running back off the board.
Where do you think he was drafted?
I don't know. It's for sure in the top 10.
I don't know if he was.
I'm not going to put 5 on it. Do you want to look this up, or do you want to have Rob look this up?
Whatever. So what is it, FF Calculator you would look?
I would go on Fantasy Mojo's website, Dave.
Oh, good old Jared Armani.
Get the legit FFPC draft info on that one. You can look that up. I have another email here for Matthew. This is from Alan in Baltimore, Maryland. Hey, Matthew, congrats on leading the FPC. Are you worried that Stephon Diggs might miss or be limited in Sunday's game against GB? I'm a little thin at wide receiver and am going to have to attack the waiver wire if he misses the game. Thank you for the email. Alan in Baltimore, Maryland. Matthew, Diggs did not practice today. How concerned are you about him sitting out week 6?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely concerned there. He probably should sit out just to heal up. Everything that I've been hearing here, on the morning radio talk shows say, he won't be at full strength, and he hasn't had great splits in the past when he's been a little banged up. So, I mean, probably best for your long-term and his long-term success to sit out a week. But it is a little early in the week, so maybe by Thursday or Friday you'll know more. I would definitely pick up a backup if he's, one of your starters for sure.
Are you okay? So you look at what Diggs could mean in this game. He's been very successful against the Packers, in games that they've played against each other. I think if he plays, he's in for another big game. Don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he's in and he's actually at full health, I think he's in for a big game. I think the Packers-Vikings game, they're going to have to go to the air to get a win there. I don't think they're going to be able to grind it out with Murray and McKinnon. So if he's playing at full strength, I think he'll definitely be up for a big game.
Dave, you look at Diggs, I think he crushes it again this week. But, the thing is, if you are thin at receiver, find a way to get somebody else on your team because they do have Thielen. Michael Floyd is back now, so the Vikings will have other options there.
Speaking of Diggs crushing it, he's really crushed it 3 out of 5 games. And then 2 out of 5 games, he's been pathetically crappy.
That's fine. That's
1.4 points, Bulky.
Honestly,
5.1. You got to give him a shot. I agree, but it's really annoying going him.
Bryce and I got into this huge tiff over Odell Beckham this past week, a couple of days ago, talking about how he never drafts Beckham because and this is his reasoning. He's not consistent. So I went through Beckham's games this year, and then double digits every single game except for he had one 7.9 game, and Bryce is like, see, 7.9 that game. That's why I won't draft him. I'm like, that is the most narrow-minded way of looking at drafting that you can possibly do. I was so incredibly ticked off. I am not going to be incredibly ticked off when you ask Matthew, our final question here, who's been so gracious with his time tonight. We really appreciate you having on, Matthew. But before we let you go, Dave does have one final question for you.
All right. We want you to please, in redraft leagues, give us a stud that you would consider benching this week in a sleeper that just might find his way into your fantasy lineups.
Yeah, so I think for my bust, the wide receivers that I'm going to look here, there's, they're not going to be consistent 16 weeks in a row unless you're Antonio Brown. So I'm just going to look at kind of some of the matchups this week, and Mike Evans versus Patrick Peterson, and then Demaryius Thomas if Janoris Jenkins is healthy and on him. Those are 2 matchups that don't look great. But I don't think I have the ability to actually click that button and sit Mike Evans. So I'm going to say Demaryius Thomas is a player that I could see myself sitting this week. They're favored by a ton of points. They've got a couple other weapons. And I think they might just run the ball in that game. And I don't see a huge game coming from him this week. And then if we move on to the
totally with you.
I was going to say, just
man.
moving on to the sleepers quick, I think we just previewed it a little bit. I don't know how healthy Diggs is going to be, so if you're scrounging your waiver wire, I think Michael Floyd might be a good pickup this week. He got back and got some reps last week, and I see that game being a pretty high-scoring game. So Michael Floyd, if you're really struggling, is a guy that I could see pulling in to your lineup, or Marquise Goodwin against the Redskins. He had a big week last week, and I think they're going to be throwing quite a bit in the second half of that game.
Yeah, just to talk about your bust, I'm with you. I don't think I could actually sit Mike Evans. I understand, the reasoning behind, potentially him having not a very good game. Demaryius Thomas does make some sense because he's been all right so far this year, but it's not like he's one of these Antonio Brown world beaters that you have to start no matter what. So I'm definitely with you on that. Matthew, listen, so awesome to talk with you tonight. A lot of great stuff you brought to the table. I certainly appreciate it. Best of luck to you and Randy the rest of the way. Hopefully, the balls continue to bounce your way. Maybe Ed Dixon ends up with a top 10 season, and all of a sudden you're looking at a big check after Week 16. I don't know, but I will be rooting for you, man. This is awesome for you to come on. Good luck the rest of the way in all your leagues, Matthew.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Matthew Puskarich, the leader of the 2017 Footballguys Players Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of fun having him on. A lot of great stuff. Dave, you don't really comment much on the Diggs stuff.
You're just
hating on him.
For stupid McCaffrey.
Hold on.
I finally found something.
Hold on.
12th was where I found him in one spot.
All right.
It took a long time to get there. It's not Mojo. I couldn't quite get logged in.
No. I got Mojo. Don't you once again.
12th.
Once again, Eric Balkman to the rescue on not only the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, but on this show as well. And I'm going to look up McCaffrey here.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to look him up. I'm going to search him up. That's what I'm doing right now. All right, so McCaffrey going at the 304. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He was the 13th running back.
All right, so 12, 13.
So I'll split the difference.
12 and a half.
Basically, I was right, is I think what the listeners can take away from this.
Of course. But, the nice thing is nice and it's encouraging. Like you said, the Panthers keep winning games. But each week, 7 targets, 5 targets, 11 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets.
Getting involved.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I'm fine with how it's going so far. I'd like to have more than 3 carries for 7 yards. Don't get me wrong.
I think there's some fantasy football purists out there that have got to just be pulling their hair out with some of the running back production this year. I have been surviving in my leagues, and I'm doing okay. I shouldn't just say like I'm surviving. I'm doing better than average. But by the hair of my chinny chin, getting guys like having James White in a lot of leagues has helped. Andre Ellington, picking him off the waiver wire. Mr., 8 catches for 70 yards, 3 weeks in a row, wherever it's been. That's been great. Jerick McKinnon, I didn't have him going this past week, but certainly we'll get into him a little bit later. We'll talk about him. But guys like that, just these like random like pass catchers that.
Let's talk about the top 20 running backs.
Okay.
Who out of there is a pass catching type back?
Okay.
James White is 20.
Okay.
Tariq Cohen is 17.
Cohen is it's a perfect example. Yeah.
McCaffrey is 15.
Okay.
Then you go to Chris Thompson from the.
Oh yeah, that's another guy I got in a lot of spots. 8, yeah, exactly.
Duke Johnson is 7.
I got him as well. Yeah.
So I mean, like those players. Now, granted, the rest of them are more traditional backs, but I mean that's a lot of running backs. They're just the garbagey 6th, 7th, 8th round one. Not McCaffrey necessarily, but the other guys like Duke Johnson, Chris Thompson was like free. Tariq Cohen was free. You know what I mean? Those guys.
Hold on, Dave. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? I believe that's a standing ovation we're getting from our Zero RV listeners right now.
Exactly.
Just a massive round of applause.
Absolutely.
Yes, you guys are totally right. This is what I was saying the whole time. Mm-hmm. Nobody would listen. Everybody said Zero RV, throw it out the window. Well, we're only 5 weeks into the season. A lot can change, but certainly it's going very good for you right now.
It doesn't even include Alvin Kamara, who had a bye last week.
Oh, yeah.
And then the first 2 weeks he didn't get that much production, but now he's averaged 13.2 points and 25.6, and now AP's gone.
Yeah, you don't have
this guy's going to almost for sure lock top 20 running back.
Yeah. Not to say that he was really gumming up the works too much in New Orleans because he wasn't really getting on the field, but there is no specter of Adrian Peterson there.
Yeah, in the paper all the time yapping about how it didn't get used enough.
Peterson?
He's just being annoying. Yes.
I don't know.
He's a little whiner.
Whatever. I mean,
they should give him the switch.
The fact that we saw it in the press once or twice, we don't know what's going on, behind the scenes. Maybe there was actually more there, more than just like Transformers, Dave. More than meets the eye.
Well, the nice thing now is AP can go from a team from the Saints. He can go to a team where the offensive line, it matches his yards per carry. Like he averages about 2.8. They produce about 2.8 yards per carry. So they should just even it out. There's about 2.8 yards per carry. They should be they're meant for each other.
One of the Cardinals reporters asked Bruce Arians after the last game why, the ground game was really bad. Kerwin Williams and Chris Johnson and Ellington, and all those guys back there. And he said, it's mostly the blocking. It was mostly the blocking that.
It's really Chris Johnson.
So then what does he do? He goes out and trades a conditional 6th round. Not he, but the Cardinals turned around and traded conditional 6th round pick for Adrian Peterson. This is
and then cut Johnson immediately.
And then cut Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
Who did you see that was tweeting like a month ago how Adrian Peterson needs more touches?
Yeah, I know.
And now it's at the expense of CJ2K.
And then everyone on Twitter laughed at him.
Right. I wasn't. I didn't even like that tweet. Thanks to Footballguys, Real World, and Rob for tonight's rundown here. Let's catch you up on the latest and greatest around the NFL. The aforementioned Adrian Peterson was traded to the Arizona Cardinals from the New Orleans Saints in exchange for that conditional 6th round pick. Diana Rossini had that story on Twitter. The Saints running backs coach, after they went on bye last week, after they beat the Dolphins, was actually talking up Adrian Peterson. But this was kind of a foregone conclusion. So much for my conspiracy theory about him going back to Minnesota after the Dalvin Cook injury. But he goes to Arizona. So let's break this down here with the Cardinals. Now, the scheme that they run there certainly fits his skill set definitely more than what New Orleans had him doing. Your thoughts on Adrian Peterson the rest of the way? Is he even a top 30 back?
That's a little dicey to say that, to be honest with you. But I think that he's worth a speculative ad. I think he can be productive. Why not? I mean, yeah. He's in obviously a much better situation. I think he could actually be pretty decent.
He's the type of guy that I'd be willing to keep around for a couple of weeks, and then if he's not showing it, cut him because you're gonna need to make some roster space with the bye weeks coming up.
Yeah, I think he might do all right. I think he might. You never know. He could rejuvenate the Cardinals. Why not?
He definitely might.
I do think they're going to beat the Buccaneers this weekend.
Certainly possible.
Buccaneers play poorly on the road and they have to travel cross country.
Were you doing your Superbook research on the show tonight? I feel like you're.
That's who I'm taking. I'm taking the Cardinals.
I knew there was an ulterior motive here.
I'm 3-1-1, by the way.
Congratulations.
Our team would be probably in the top, 20 in the Superbook if everyone had been, similar to my record.
Dave Gerzak.
The rest of my partners not so good.
Alpha male, Dave Gerzak.
I just like to dog him. Just kidding, guys.
Maybe future patron saint of the Las Vegas Westgate Superbook contest.
Highly doubt. I'll probably lose like 5 in a row now.
What does this do in New Orleans? How much does this change Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, now that Peterson's gone?
No one talks about Ingram that much, but I think it helps Ingram quite a bit. I mean, Ingram is he's a good running back.
He is a good running back. I'm guilty of this, saying that Sean Payton did not like him. If you listen to the On the Couch podcast with Football Guys, Sigmund Bloom, he had Evan Silva on this week, which was good listening, good football.
Our buddy Evan Silva.
Evan's a former guest of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Evan Silva actually pointed this out, which I didn't realize. Mark Ingram's touches have increased each week this season.
Really?
From week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, Balky, we know how counting works. Even with Kamara crushing it.
I'm going to keep going with Kamara.
That's fine. He doesn't care. He was interviewed about this. He doesn't care how you pronounce his last name. But Ingram's touches have gone up every single week. And honestly, no Peterson in there. Probably going to go up again in week 6.
Yep.
So there you go. I don't want to get too crazy about what Kamara and Ingram are going to be now because Peterson wasn't that big of a factor there anyway. But yeah, marginally, I would expect a little bit more.
Ingram was an RB1 last year.
He definitely was. Aditi Kinkawala on Twitter reports
nice. From Ethiopia, from reporting directly out of Africa?
I think he's Norwegian. Ben Roethlisberger says he believes he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. This is after a game when he threw 5 interceptions to the Jacksonville Football Jaguars. After the game, of course, Ben Roethlisberger said that he didn't know if he had it anymore. But Roethlisberger also said, if I didn't care, a game like this past Sunday wouldn't bother me. Ben Roethlisberger? Was worried about him before. Still a little bit worried about him. Worried about him less. This is coming off I don't know, maybe I'll retire, before this coming season. Faces Kansas City. I don't know if this is a get-right week for Big Ben and that Steelers offense.
No, I actually think Kansas City, I think they're going to pace the Steelers. I think they're going to whip them up.
Paced?
That's right.
So double digits for sure.
Yeah, I think it'd be
2 touchdowns?
Yeah, like 30 to 17, something like that.
Okay. I don't know if that's a pasting.
Well, it's pretty good. It'll be 30 to 10, and then they get a garbage time one day, Antonio Brown.
Okay. Not through Martavis Bryant?
Of course, hell no.
Could
be Juju Smith-Schuster, possibly.
Or we're going to get into that in a little bit. Actually, no, I don't think we will get into that, but who did get into that? Nelson Sousa on the road of his high-stakes lowdown. We talked about how Martavis Bryant has now been outsnapped by Juju Smith-Schuster for the last 2 weeks, so there's something there. Listen to Nelson.
We were talking about that in July and August.
About JJSS?
Well, I was saying how I never liked Bryant, and I thought that Schuster would be the better player.
Yeah, and he still might be.
And then
I wonder what Martavis Bryant contract is like.
In Carrington, just so everyone knows, you're the Bryant owner who's been trying to deal him, and I was the one who was kind enough to give you Smith-Schuster for, what was it, Enunwa or something in preseason?
Kareem Hunt.
No, it wasn't. I wish it was. That would be so great.
No, I think it was Quincy Enunwa. Something. I thought it was a bigger deal, but those were the two.
Oh, Enunwa was traded for the 212 or something like that. Whatever it was.
Oh yeah, he was. I don't remember what it was now. I think it was you took him in the first round, didn't you? Or was it an early second round?
Early second.
So it was whatever. Yeah, because I was picking right behind you.
It might have been Curtis Samuel or some other turd.
It might have been that because you made it this huge deal like Balky, I'm screwing you here by
Samuel
getting Smith-Schuster.
Samuel sucks.
Yeah. Give it time. Give it time.
What a terrible trade.
You got Kelvin Benjamin, who's no stranger to the trainer's table. Curtis Samuel might be the future there at receiver with Devin Funchess.
Hey, he's what are we 5 weeks in?
5 weeks in.
He's averaging 2.06 fantasy points a week,
which is actually
he's not
1 point less than Christian McCaffrey.
Divided by 4 and then divided by 5. Whatever, good.
We were told there would be no math. Carlos Hyde will be the first running back to play in games. Will be followed by Matt Breida. Is it Breida? Breida?
I'll go with Breida.
Breida. Then the team's actually going to use the hot hand approach after that, according to Kyle Shanahan.
That means they're going to go with Breida.
This is a report from Matt Barrows from the Sacramento Bee. How does this affect Carlos Hyde and in your lineup? Are you willing? You just said Breida, slightly tongue-in-cheek, that it'd be him. Carlos Hyde might be a guy that you have to – well, we had a question in the chat tonight. Let's see if I can find it here. Billy Joe 166, is it an overreaction to start Marlon Mack over Carlos Hyde this week?
It might be. It's weird.
Well, hold on. Just to give the listeners
go ahead.
Marlon Mack is at Tennessee on Monday night under the lights, Dave.
Right.
And then, of course, Carlos Hyde is on the road at Washington. So go ahead with your thoughts.
I think it might be a little – what's funny about Carlos Hyde is he's actually the number 11 running back right now.
Yeah, not doing too shabby.
Except for last week where he scored 2.8 points.
And had his helmet on, ready to go back in, and Shanahan was rolling with Breida.
Burrito.
The water pitcher. He went with the water pitcher.
The water pitcher. That's great. You should actually.
The filter. Matt the filter Breida. No Carlos No Filter Hyde, and then Matt the Filter Breida. Anyway, I guarantee you somebody else has used that joke already, as terrible as it is.
I'm sure on Twitter. Breida unfiltered, Breida filtered.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he looks better than Hyde when he's out there. That's
he looked very good. Looked very good.
I don't know, that's all I can say about it. You look at the players play, and Breida looks better.
The other thing to keep in mind, too, is not that we'd ever root for an injury, but if something ever prevented Hyde from being on the field, Breida would actually be quite the interesting flex player, maybe second running back for you.
Well, with Hyde, you don't really need to root for an injury. He just pretty much gets them.
Well, I'm just saying we never would. He's been relatively healthy this year. We'll see if that continues.
Has he?
How many, he hasn't missed any games.
Oh, no questionables or anything?
Well, he might have. Listen, they don't have the probable tag anymore, so questionable is always out there.
All right.
Let's talk about your Josh Gordon here.
Josh, I like the way you said that.
13-minute documentary on uninterrupted. Josh Gordon talked about his history of drug use, the NFL suspensions that have come down, how he feels about Roger Goodell, as you already alluded to, and his future, not only in the NFL, but personally as well. Definitely check it out if you haven't. I have not yet seen it, but I've heard nothing but people telling me to see it.
It's not so great.
Gordon said he used Xanax, cocaine, and codeine in addition to pot, and admitted that in 2014 that trip to rehab was all for show. He says his latest trip, and this is where the documentary was filmed while he was doing it, was different. The entire experience has been very humbling. He's out of rehab, expected to apply for reinstatement soon. You are saying a minimum of 4 games. I think it's going to be more than that.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean,
You know whose fault that? By the way, the one thing you learn in the documentary.
The system, Dave.
No, the coaches at Baylor. Actually, that's
interesting.
He was like either dirty or failed it. It was going to fail a test or whatever, and they gave him the whatever that stuff is to clean.
Oh,
your
yeah.
system out. I was
going to say Everclear. It's ISO Pure. Is that what it's called?
I think that's a protein powder.
I don't know.
But it's some
ISO,
sort of
I thought it was.
ISO Pure is like a protein.
Just go ahead and make your. I'm going to find out what this was.
They give you
was it the same thing that Ricky Williams is taking?
I don't really know exactly.
Go ahead.
I don't do the cleansing thing, but you just take the drink. You just take these and clean you out so that you don't you pass the test. So effectively, they were enabling him right away at Baylor the entire time. Here, go ahead, use pot, drink, use whatever it is, do whatever drugs you want, and as long as you can take this thing to clean out your system, and knowing that the test is coming, you'll be fine. So it's like they totally did him a disservice. Instead of saying, hey, you can't do this stuff, you're going to be a professional at some point in time, and trying to get him clean, they didn't give a crap.
And I got to tell you, this shocks me. Given Baylor's track record with their coaching staff and all the sexual assaults they covered up there, I'm shocked that they would actually apply this sort of logic to Josh Gordon's career.
You know what's really funny, actually, is Baylor, the university, is a pretty upstanding university.
Baptist?
It's a Christian university.
Yeah.
And so then the athletic department is like this, bastion of
cesspool,
den of evil.
Yeah.
These good Christian people are going to the school, and then they get crapped upon. Their entire reputation gets ruined by the sports department.
Yeah.
Probably not lacrosse, mostly football.
I'm sure it definitely was not lacrosse. I don't know what the Baylor lacrosse program is like. It's pretty crazy, seeing, Baylor was ranked up in, top 5, top 10 over the past few years under our brows. And now you look at I look at the point spreads for college, and I can't remember who they're playing this week, but it's not a dominant team, but not a great team, and not a terrible team. I mean, and they're 5 touchdown underdogs.
Really?
Well, because there's nobody going to school there anymore, and they got penalized so bad.
Did they get the death penalty?
They didn't get the death penalty, but I'm sure that there's gonna be more stuff that happens going forward. I don't think we've heard the last of that. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Moving forward past Josh Gordon. So, okay, my assumption, I think he gets suspended for more than 4 games. I still don't think he plays another down in the NFL.
Really?
Yeah.
I got 5 on that.
I feel like this
How
would...
about he plays another down...
Is this Marshawn Lynch all over again?
By 2020. 2019?
Okay.
I'll give
No,
2020.
2020.
All right.
I'm fine with 2020.
He plays another down in the NFL regular season.
By the end of the 2020 regular season.
Perfect. This is great. This will be a lot of fun.
All right, I got 5 on that. He doesn't.
I got 5 on my boy, Josh.
I got 5 on it.
Another one for the good guys, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. The good guys, the optimists that like people to succeed in life.
I want him to succeed.
Tearing him down.
I hope I'm wrong.
Poor young
man.
I
don't. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me.
Won't
Fool
get
me.
fooled again.
Yeah, I won't.
Neither would George Bush.
Quote the great Roger Daltrey. So Josh Gordon, 2020.
Great George Bush.
Won't get fooled again.
You ever heard that?
Yes, it's a Who song.
No, but did you ever hear that George Bush screwed that up?
No. I did not know this.
He goes, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, and you won't get fooled again. That's what he said. That was the quote. He botched the quote.
Yeah. Billy Joe.
You should really watch this. Hilarious.
Billy Joe 166 wants to know when's Justin Blackman coming back.
You know what? That was really funny. The answer is never.
I think he's probably eating a Big Mac right now while mopping up the McDonald's at the same time.
My goodness. Blackman was, he got pretty large and in charge. I think he was drinking and eating the fried food.
Probably. Los Angeles Times report. Rams coach Sean McVay says he will continue to try to find ways to get the ball to Sammy Watkins. Last 2 games, Watkins has had 6 targets held without a catch against Seattle for the second time in his career. Watkins actually posted something on Twitter. There must be something going on here with Torrey Holt, who I believe is a broadcaster for the Rams. Said something's got to be going on. That's what it was. McVay said he talked to Sammy Watkins and does not think that the last 2 games are going to be indicative of what we're going to see from Watkins the rest of the year. Here's my problem, and I brought this up, I think, with Darren Summer, if you listen to the High Stakes Lowdown. If Sean McVay is this genius, which I think he is, this offensive genius, way more creative than Jeff Fisher.
I think we're throwing genius around a little bit loosely here.
Okay, he's very gifted.
He's a bright.
Creative offensive mind.
There you go.
Fine. Maybe a genius, maybe not. You be the judge.
Right.
He's unlocked Todd Gurley, man. Todd Gurley's crushing it this year.
He is.
Something that Jeff Fisher could not figure out last year. Sean McVay is totally, it's been a 180. Or as George Bush would say, a total 360.
He might say that.
I know somebody's famous said that. I'm probably fake attributing that to George Bush.
Tony Hawk would call it a 1080.
Yeah. So that 3 times?
Who the hell knows?
Why has he not been able to do the same for Watkins? Why is Sammy Watkins still not freed? Why is Todd Gurley crushing it right now and Sammy Watkins is sitting out there blocking and running around, not catching any balls for the Rams? This is on Sean McVay, is it not? Why can he not do for Watkins what he's been doing for Gurley?
Well, first of all, they played the Seahawks last week. If anyone hasn't noticed, that they have a pretty good secondary.
He had no catches the previous game.
He had 1 catch the previous game. 50% of his targets were catches. He had 2 targets. 1 for 17.
Poor efficiency.
The week before, he was 6 for 106 and 2 touchdowns, and that's the problem. Unfortunately, he only had 7. He's just not getting targeted enough.
That's my point.
No, I do agree with you, actually. He's definitely he has fewer targets than our boy Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
We should have a new segment on the show called What Gives? What gives here? What gives, Sean McVay?
What happened, question mark?
Does it change? It's got to, but does it change to the point where, you can feel good about starting Watkins on any given week?
I think so eventually, but I don't think that it's against the Jaguars. They're number 3 in the NFL in pass defense, and I think they're going to do pretty well. They're number 30 against the run. Why wouldn't you just give it to Gurley again, 30 times?
Yeah, maybe they will. I will never feel good about starting Sammy Watkins. I've made this poignantly clear several times.
You know how wide receivers are, though, when you call it out. I guarantee you this. He'll probably get 10 targets this week because there's this big issue.
Okay.
He may only go 3 for 30, though.
Yeah, I'm salivating there. I thought I got 5 on it locked up.
Sorry, buddy.
You and I feel the same way. Devin Funchess returned to practice today, according to a report on ESPN.com. He had that bum knee, which kept him out of practice on Monday and Tuesday, but he was out there today, and that's big because they play tomorrow against the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. Ron Rivera saying Devin Funchess will play the number 14 receiver in PPR leagues right now. You got to feel good about playing him in a matchup tomorrow, which, the Eagles' pass defense isn't great, but I think over the last 3 games they're giving up like 300 passing yards per game average, and they've given up at least 1 touchdown every single week this year, too. And the way that Funchess is playing, you wanted to see him get in this practice today. I feel good about starting him tomorrow, Dave.
Absolutely. He had that 26-point week in week 4, and then in week 5 you're a little bit tentative. You're like, is he for real or not? And then he had an 18-point fantasy week. So he is for real. Greg Olson's out. They need another receiver who can catch. Benjamin's, I've always thought he's overrated. So it's funny because we've always been rooting for Funchess. I was rooting for him last year, and he just didn't quite break out. And I was a little bit dubious about him breaking out this year, but he looks like he's really actually come to do it.
Yep, no dubious about it. Coach Jay Gruden said Rob Kelly is a long shot to play this week against the Niners. This is on the Redskins' official Twitter account. Kelly did not practice today. He's been limited to side work after he got hurt in week 4. It'll be Piran and Thompson. So we know we're going to play Thompson, Dave, with the Niners' inability to really curtail running backs so far this season. We know we're playing Thompson. Are we playing P. Ryan? Do you have any kind of confidence in Samaje P. Ryan, who should be the first and second round banger this week?
Down. Yes.
First and what did I say?
You said round, but it's okay.
Yeah, first and second round banger.
Round of downs.
Round of downs, banger. I just want to say banger over and over again. P. Ryan, are you playing him? I know you cut him in the Kentucky Auction League.
I'm trying my best not to play him.
Yeah, you're not a P. Ryan believer.
No, I think he's got some talent. I'm just, again, first and second down work, and I'd rather get somebody else in there. I just don't trust him yet.
I'm kind of curious on the.
I have him rostered in like 3 or 4 leagues.
Kind of curious on the total for that game, and it's actually at 47 right now with the Redskins a 10.5 point favorite at home. So certainly the game script would dictate a good game for P. Ryan.
He might get a 22 carry game.
That said, neither of us are playing him.
Probably not.
Honestly, I haven't set my lineups yet, but I can't imagine P. Ryan's going to be in any of them.
I don't think so.
Maybe if you had Shady McCoy is off this week. Joe Mixon is off this week. Ezekiel Elliott is off this week. If you need to plug in somebody there, I guess I could see it. But if you do, you got to go in with low expectations because otherwise you're probably going to be disappointed. This is interesting. Something to pay attention to. This is huge for FFPC, and this is not really being talked about. Travis Kelce did not practice today. This according to BJ Kissel on Twitter. Kelce was concussed on Sunday night against the Texans. It was weird because he was concussed, then he passed the test, then he came back in and looked like he was concussed again, and then he never came back in, and he had a really good game going. So the fact that he didn't practice today means he's probably not in the concussion protocol yet, which is massive.
What do you mean not in it?
Well, he's not even close to passing. There's like 4 different stages that you have to pass, and he's clearly not even past stage 1 yet.
So you have to practice that stage?
No. Stage 1 I think is actually just sitting out at practice and being out in the lights or something like that. No, it's something. It has something to do with that. No, you laugh, but it's something ridiculous. Stage 1 is ridiculous.
You drive a car.
I don't think they let you do that. You have to Uber everywhere.
Sit at McDonald's for 20 minutes.
Not McDonald's. Come on.
Cheesecake Factory. Have a meal out.
Yeah, they got good lettuce wraps at the Cheesecake Factory.
Can you order out with the server?
I don't know. Look up the process.
Sort of a mental test.
Look up the process. This is huge, though, because if Kelce's out, you got to find a replacement, and people are going to be scrambling because they're probably trying to replace Charles Clay this week. Is a perfect example.
True.
Jason Witten, if you were playing him as your second tight end in the FFPC,
or your first. He's
or your first. That's key too. Maybe you lost Tyler Eifert and you're playing Tyler Kroft. He's off this week, too. Yeah. So there's situations out there where people are going to be after tight ends, and they're going to be even more thirsty for tight ends if Kelce's out, and that's something to be paying attention to.
Good wording. Thirsty, I like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys out there. You got Dixon. Kroft is out there in some spots.
George Kittle.
Kittle had a great game. Somebody was saying that he thinks Kittle's going to be a star. It was on Twitter.
Well, people were saying this in the preseason, too, that they really like Kittle. He had 7 catches this last week. 5 of them were on the final drive.
Yeah, that's
take that for what it's worth, including a touchdown.
And Griffin from the Houston still.
Ryan Griffin.
Yeah.
So there's options out there, but hopefully you picked up somebody if you had the roster spot tonight. If you didn't, definitely make sure that you are grabbing somebody on Friday if Kelce does not at least get, even if he gets in a limited fashion. I think chances are he probably does not go this week.
That really sucks. Kelce was having a monster game, and it's funny, he got up kind of in a badass fashion or whatever.
Yeah.
He looked like he was going to go back out. But
he is a bit of a badass.
He really totally is.
Yeah.
And he thought he was going to come back out, but smartly they didn't put him out for too long.
His older brother, Jason Kelce, is a lineman for the Eagles, and I got to believe that growing up, Kelce was always, begging to be playing with his older brother, when they play football or whatever. And Kelce probably was not as big as Jason Kelce was, so I think he took his lumps there, and that just made him, just kind of built the mentality of what he is today. So I agree. So I think that's a big part of his game,
a few times.
Tom, let's go to emails here, Dave. Tom in North Canton, Ohio. Hey, Dave and Balky, are you concerned with Eli Manning's age and the seriousness of Beckham's injury for his dynasty value? Or would you try and see if you can trade for him on the cheap right now? That is Tom in North Canton, Ohio. Certain factors go into every dynasty trade, and I think these are the 2 big ones when you look at trying to acquire Odell Beckham right now, Dave. Eli Manning, how much longer is he going to be there? Is Odell Beckham going to have to get used to a rookie quarterback in either 2018 or potentially 2019. And then how bad is this injury for his career? Is this something that's going to bother him the rest of his career? What have you been doing with Beckham?
So far, I've been doing nothing. I don't own Beckham anywhere. I haven't made any offers for him. But if I was doing anything, I'd be trying to acquire. The problem is, these guys right now that own Beckham are grumpy.
Tough to acquire him on the cheap.
They're not happy.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to deal him. So you're not going to, I think it's hard. I haven't seen many Beckham offers or Beckham trades come through in FFPC Dynasty just because it's like, it's kind of like trying to date somebody after a bad breakup. You just give it some time to heal a little bit and then make that offer.
Let me offer this analogy. When business is bad, okay?
Sure.
For business.
Which has been good for everybody now with, recently with the economy. And
yeah,
all that.
you kind of ignore it, though. Thanks. You kind of ignore it. Like, come on, it's not that bad,
Right.
It'll pick up. It'll be fine. This will be fine. And then once you're facing, like, oh, my God, Odell Beckham's taking up a roster spot. Oh, my God, my team is sucking. And I don't know. Like, you got to have the fear in these Odell Beckham owners for, like, 3 or 4 weeks. And, like, once that hits them, then it's the time to pounce. I don't think now is the time to do it because, listen,
it depends on your team, too, right?
If I own Odell Beckham in one dynasty league, and I'm still in the mentality of like, no, I'm taking 100 cents on the dollar for him. I'm not giving anybody a discount. It's a dynasty league. He's like 15 years old. He's got a massive 40-year career ahead of him. I'm not dealing him, That might change in a month or two. Might change in the offseason,
It depends a lot on your team, too. Are you trying to win now? Is your team close enough that you can acquire somebody that's good? Then maybe you take a look at dealing him, but otherwise, if your team's totally out of it, then you try and acquire them. I mean, that's
totally.
Try and get the guys that are hurt.
I can't believe I'm even asking this, but how much would you guys spend on Ed Dixon in a Football Guys league? Thanks, that's John in Lexington, Kentucky. Ed Dixon in a Football Guys league. How much? Let's put a percentage on it. How much of your budget?
I'd spend 15%, 150.
I'd go higher.
Or I'm sorry, 181 would be my bid.
Well, yeah, because of your BS.
My new 81.
Yeah.
My 81 theory.
Get the numbers on opposite ends of the keyboard.
Yeah, everyone's bidding 77. Don't bid 77. Bid 81 because then all the other knobs are going to bid 78 or 79. Then you're going to one up them or two up them.
And
81. And
all the knobs bidding 80.
Yeah, exactly.
You got them at 81.
All the even money people.
Yeah. No, I'd be looking at maybe 20-25% in a Football Guys league, tight end premium league.
No, that's fair.
I don't have a ton of money floating around in a lot of my leagues right now.
No kidding.
But if I did, I wouldn't be ashamed to invest it in Dixon. Listen, Olsen is not coming back probably for the next 5-6 games, so something to keep in mind. Moving on. Phil in Hollywood, California. There's a lot of trades flying around in my Dynasty League with the rookie running backs. Could you guys re-rank them now based on what you've seen the first 5 weeks? So I assume he doesn't mean like the filter and Marlon Mack and all those guys. Do the top 4 running backs. Oh yeah. For Dynasty, re-rank Hunt, McCaffrey, Cook, and Fournette.
McCaffrey.
So hold on before you get into this.
Right.
They were basically drafted, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fournette, McCaffrey, Cook, Hunt. That's how they were drafted.
Probably.
Okay.
I think this is relatively easy except for 3 and 4. I think it's Hunt, Fournette, and then because Cook got hurt, I would say McCaffrey then Cook. But actually, if it were not for Cook being hurt, I think you'd be looking at whether Cook or Fournette are 2 or 3 at that point. But because of the injury, Hunt for sure is number 1, and then Fournette, he's really come on. And then I think McCaffrey. I've had McCaffrey at 3, but that's I'm a little bit. I got the.
Listen, I totally agree with you. The fact that you have McCaffrey for the rest of this year, there's no time like the present, Dave. So I would put McCaffrey ahead of Cook. Had Cook still been playing, I would have Cook ahead of McCaffrey, given how the Vikings were using him and given how the Panthers are using McCaffrey. So I am with ya. And hang on one second. I just put the wrong sheet down. My bad.
No problem.
I almost skipped over Jeff in Edwardsville, Illinois.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
Dear Peyton and Andrew, are we finally witnessing the changing of the guard in the Indy backfield and the end of the line for Frank Gore? Would you guys cut him for Marlon Mack right now? Appreciate what you guys do. Jeff in Edwardsville, Illinois. Hey, we appreciate the fact that you are doing emails to us. So that's great. I don't know if too many people are facing this, but if you wanted to get Marlon Mack and your worst cut was Frank Gore, would you do it? Frank Gore, who technically is still the starter.
So you have to cut.
You'd have to cut Gore to get Mack.
In redraft?
Yeah.
Man, I hate to say it, but I would probably.
I would do it, frankly. I would cut Gore for Mack.
Yeah, Gore's upside is so limited, but I mean, he's still Gore. I don't know.
Mack is being used in the red zone, okay?
Yeah.
Him and Turbin. Gore is not. He's just not.
Yeah, there's a decent enough chance that he usurps him.
Yeah, I think there's a better than decent chance. So I would totally do that, Jeff. Joe in Houston, Texas. Morning, Dave and Balky. Hey, good evening to you. As an Evan Ingram owner, I was supremely disappointed to see he put up a goose egg this week after putting up double-digit FFPC scoring seemingly every week. And this was after Manning lost his top 4 wideouts. Are we expecting more of the same going forward? That is Joe in Houston, Texas. Joe, thanks for the email. I don't know what in the hell happened.
That's like the most insane fluke of all time.
How does a guy who's been crushing it with these 4 receivers, they all go out, and then gets nothing? Nothing!
And you can't tell me that the defense, like, adapts. Oh, all these guys are out. Just cover Ingram only. Triple cover Ingram, like, instantly. No, they're not game planning for that.
No.
Not at all. So, I don't know. It's just bad luck.
I think it was a fluke. I think I would have full confidence trotting him out there going forward, even though he's a rookie tight end. I go with God and go with Evan Ingram.
I've seen Ingram ranked top 6 even for this week.
Yeah, I did too. So, where'd you see that?
I don't know, some ranking site or something.
Fantasy Pros had him up there too.
Whatever.
But you know what? They had him up there last week, and
they
really
meeting with 45 consensus experts.
Oh, there's more than that.
Crappy opinions.
Whatever. Fantasy Pros is great.
Not really so great.
It's fantastic. Ron in Fort Myers, Florida. Did Aaron Jones just win the Green Bay running back job with a better performance than Montgomery gave so far this season? Love the show. That is Ron in Fort Myers, Florida.
I think we talked about this last week, that was a possibility.
Okay, but now, yes, we knew it was a possibility, but now we have some more information with Aaron Jones actually crushing it against Dallas.
Yeah, well, non-pedigreed Montgomery.
Okay.
Aaron Jones, very athletic.
Right. Also non-pedigreed.
Also non-pedigreed. Very good point. And had a great game.
And a much smaller guy than Ty Montgomery.
I think Montgomery is a fine pass-catching back. I don't think he's a great 3-down back. He's not naturally a running back. So, I don't know, though. I mean, the coach they don't want to just give the job away. But right. I don't think that they've always thought that Montgomery was like this long-term 10-year running back. Not saying that they think Aaron Jones necessarily.
Right.
But, never know. Maybe he's the next Arian Foster.
They do not want one guy to have this job. I don't think Mike McCarthy's ever wanted one guy. Even when Lacey was good, he didn't want Lacey to have the job. Lacey might have been the starter. Lacey might have been doing very well out there. James Starks is still working in. You know what I mean? And think about this.
Lacey's a chub, though.
Well,
I mean, if they had a true 3-down back, they had Ezekiel.
Yes, if they had Le'Veon Bell, obviously.
Yeah, Todd Gurley. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well.
Okay, well, that just doesn't happen. It happens to like 2 or 3 teams.
But you just said that he doesn't want to have a 3-down.
Yes, assuming they don't have one of the best running backs in the world on the roster. Yes, obviously.
Well, by the way, any running back in the NFL that's starting is one of the best in the world. Semantics. I'm just saying that like a 3-down capable back, he'd be fine with starting a 3-down capable back.
Okay, fine. You just don't believe Montgomery or Jones is that, and I agree. I do think that they eat into the workload, which kind of sucks if you own Jones and Montgomery.
Right.
You need to get one of these guys off the field. I have one roster spot available. Should I cut Buck Allen to pick up Alex Collins, or do I already own the right Raven rusher? That is Carl in Lynbrook, New York. I would not cut Buck Allen for Alex Collins.
No, I'd keep Allen.
I mean, he's the pass catcher. He's maybe not the more athletically gifted of the two, but he's certainly the one that they trust. He is not putting the ball on the ground like all the time, like Alex Collins is. Mm-hmm. He's catching passes. He's out there. I mean, you want that guy.
He's named Buck.
That's another guy we can add to our running back pass catchers list. Maybe not in the top 20 running backs, but he's right up there with the Duke Johnsons, the Chris Thompsons, the Terry Cohens, the James Whites, the whoever else I'm forgetting. Are you looking up where the Buck is right now? Buck Dancer.
The Buck is number 16, man. I missed him earlier. I didn't even name him.
Did you watch Curb this past week with Buck Dancer?
No, I didn't watch it.
That's good. Get it. It's a really good one.
I got to get back into it. Curb, it's a little bit. Larry's looking older, so I got to get used to his older look.
Everybody's looking older on that show.
Yeah.
Unlike us, who never age.
We look the same.
Ray in New Haven, Connecticut. Dear Barry and Billy, I am about at my wit's end with Eric Ebron. Would I be better off rostering him for the other tight end in Detroit? Would I be better off
rostering the other tight end?
Right. Yeah. Makes no sense. Ray in New Haven, Connecticut.
I mean, Ray's not going to Yale.
No, clearly not. Who has proven he is capable of catching touchdowns? TIA, Ray in New Haven. Sort of. Thank you for the email, Rick. So I think he's talking about Darren Fells versus Eric Ebron. I am not cutting Eric Ebron for Darren Fells.
No, but I'm cutting Ebron for literally anyone else.
That's not true.
And by the way, are you impressed that I knew that DL was in New Haven? Right on.
Is it in New Haven? I knew it was in Connecticut. I didn't realize it was there.
Right there. Anyway, no, I'm not cutting Ebron for him, but Ebron totally sucks. I don't, did you hear what he was saying? Like what he was saying? He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm like not feeling it or I'm not into it this year or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you are the worst.
Yeah.
I know I was dogging Eifert for the longest time, and now that he's IR, I feel a little bit bad about him. I hope his career gets rejuvenated. Ebron's now on my tight end poop list.
I'm trying to think here. Who would you rather own in Dynasty?
Ebron or Eifert?
Ebron or Eifert?
Probably Ebron.
Just because he's healthy? What if Eifert wasn't IR today? Ebron versus Eifert. Eifert will be back in like 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, that's a perpetual.
I'm saying like that's what we had it on good authority.
Then maybe I'd take Eifert, but that's just not the reality we live in.
I know it's not the reality. I just wanted to pick your brain.
Eifert's career, in my opinion, is over. I think he's done.
I was actually going to ask you that tonight. If you thought that like Eifert might just try to give it a go next year, I think he will. But
he'll try.
But I don't know if he's able to come in.
This is like he's probably got like $10 million.
This is like his 4th back surgery.
I know.
4.
I feel bad for him.
He's like 27 years old, dude.
He seems like a nice fella. Go get a job somewhere, like become a management consultant at Bain & Company or something like that. Get in investment banking.
Maybe he could
get millions of dollars.
Get into coaching high school lacrosse. We have a hookup if he ever wants to do that. He could intern for Matthew Puskarich.
If you're worth $10 million, just get into coaching. It's got to be pretty fun.
We're broadcasting.
People will like you. Well, that doesn't pay as well as coaching. Coaching actually pays a little.
I don't know about that.
I don't think he needs it he doesn't need the money though. I mean, do something fun. Enjoy your life.
Next email is addressed specifically to you, so I will not be answering this one. Hello, Dave. Congrats on your boy McKinnon finally being the guy. Are we talking every week flex for J-Mac now? That is Jimmy and Unadilla, Nebraska, or Unadia, Nebraska. I don't know.
5th-year breakout, 4th-year breakout?
I don't know.
McKinnon looked outstanding.
Contract year, too. Think about this, though. He had like a 58 touchdown run?
Yeah, where they couldn't catch him, but it was a huge hole.
Yeah. So that was a lot of his production. Still had a 20-point week. He was the number 3 running back in FFPC scoring this week.
Sure.
So he looked very good. And this Minnesota offensive line keeps blocking better than I think it's going to. Jerick McKinnon, Dave, made Latavius Murray irrelevant for 1 week. Can he hold him off? Can he keep putting up these numbers the rest of the season?
I think he can hold them off. I think that the 58-yard touchdown, was a bit of an anomaly. McKinnon has not shown a natural instinct for running the football. So if he, I don't know. I think if you give him the opportunity, I really think he can score fantasy points. I guarantee he can score fantasy points. I just hope he can actually show the propensity to run the ball and get 4.5, 5 yards of carry without just, sometimes he would just, kind of juke around a little bit and then get blasted for a 2-yard loss. I don't want to see those Billy Sims type moves without the Billy Sims type 60-yard touchdowns all the time. I
was surprised when I was looking at Kentucky waivers this week. He was actually owned in pretty much all my leagues except for I think 1.
Yeah, wasn't many.
I'm sure he was owned in most of the FFPC main events and most of the Football Guys leagues. So, kudos to you if you picked him up. There's probably a lot of Dalvin Cook owners that were all over him and investing some good money into him.
I think so. I mean, people were picking up Murray and McKinnon just because they think Murray sucks, which should have been what they thought.
Yeah.
Murray does suck.
David Hubbard on the slowdown last week was talking about how he actually liked Latavius Murray, and I'm like, maybe I'm wrong about Murray. This is the guy I gave up for a song in Dynasty, and I was, maybe I was wrong. Certainly he did not look great.
He's never had what has he had, 1.5 decent year?
I think he might still be having problems with that ankle that he hurt last year in Oakland, which is really bad because that can be a career ender for a back like him.
Hey, he's the Eifert of running backs.
Final email tonight, Mike in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Can we actually predict a good week for a Patriots running back this week?
Sure, we just don't know which one. Sorry.
With Tom Brady's bad wing and the fact that New England should be rolling over the Jets, is this a big Gillislee game? Have a great weekend. That is Mike in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Mike, thank you for the email.
It's a little bit assumptive, actually.
Okay.
He's making an assumption that they're going to roll over the Jets. I don't think they're going to roll over the Jets.
Double-digit favorites?
I think that the Jets have a very good shot to cover.
Okay, fine. But you can lose by 9 and still cover.
Yeah, but they're not rolling over the Jets. They're not going to paste them if you put it in those terms.
All right, I'm trying to frame this for a board bet here.
All right, let's go.
So
I'll just take the Jets against the spread. You can take the Patriots.
Well, no, I wanted to bring in the Steelers pasting that you were talking about. Which I don't even know. I don't even know the spread on that.
All right, how about this? I think that one's 4.5. It was 4.5. How about this?
That's a little ridiculous.
Let's do a two-teamer. I'll take the Chiefs and the Jets, and you can have the other two. You can have the Patriots and the Steelers.
Whatever the game goes off at on Sunday.
Yeah, the closing line.
I don't want to just have this.
The closing line, and then if I win both, then I win $5, and if you win both, you win $5. Otherwise, it's a push.
Okay. Here's what I'm afraid of.
Losing both?
No. Well, obviously, here's what I'm afraid of.
We could go $5 on each one.
That Tom Brady is questionable on Friday. No, just listen. Just listen to this. Just listen to this.
Yeah.
Okay. We know the Patriots and Jets history, right? Yeah. They always love to rub each other the wrong way. Yeah.
Phrasing.
Show's getting off the rails here. I saw Will Tye, by the way, on a side note. Will Tye was spotted in New England.
The free agent tight end guy?
Who just got cut by the Jets.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Maybe.
Hey, do you have the playbook still?
what if Belichick's like, look, Brady, we need you later on. You're a 40-year-old man. We don't need you to beat the Jets.
He's probable, even though it's not even allowed.
No, he could. What? That's not an official NFL injury report.
Scores and odds.
He just sits out this game. Garoppolo comes in, okay? And the Jets somehow hang with the Pats. Garoppolo doesn't play well. Yes, I know this is probably not going to happen. It's what I'm afraid of.
Like, do you read into your wife's comments like this? I mean, because like she says like one innocuous thing, and you're like,
oh my God, yeah.
Psychoanalyzing.
Yeah, I have to.
Good God.
Yeah, we don't have a good marriage. No, I'm just kidding. We have a great marriage. Okay, so what are you proposing here? We just do two separate bets?
Yeah, sure. Two separate against the spread bets.
And whatever they go off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Whatever the closing bets are on Scores and Odds.
On Scores and Odds, yep, that's fine.
I'll take the Jets currently +9, and then I'll take the Chiefs minus. I think it's 4.5.
Okay, so I have the Steelers plus. This is
+4.5.
This is total BS, by the way, because you said they'd paced them, and I'm just giving you the odds.
Well, I mean the correct betting.
No, that's fine.
Jeez, what do you want to give you? Like
so on the Steelers, I have 5 on it.
I got 5 on it.
Right.
All right, and then on the Jets, I have whatever they are, whatever they close
on,
at.
The Patriots -9.
I got 5 on it.
Somebody's life is about to change with all these wagers are making this week, Dave.
You know, we should bring up Aces Rebels has a question here. Where's the judicial ruling that has been rumored to be coming out in the past week for 10 to 10 days regarding Ezekiel Elliott and whether or not the injunction will stay in place or not?
I don't know.
No one's talking about it.
Well,
you know what we're talking about now.
No, well, here's the only updates I've seen on it. Yeah, we're still waiting on this. No word. Yeah, like no news to report.
Yeah, I know. Right?
I don't know where, but this is the NFL. I don't fully expect a fast resolution on anything.
Yeah.
Okay, in the NFL. They're too busy sending out memos about the national anthem to actually take care of something like this.
Understood.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. No, so to answer the question, I don't know where the judicial ruling is. I would bet that it is not near as close to coming as a lot of people may think it is.
Yeah.
I think we're quite a ways away from it. So.
The lawyers and judges are so lazy. That's such a nice lifestyle.
You know, there's a lot of lawyers that play FFPC. I don't want to put this on the show.
Not lawyers, not all lawyers. But I mean,
not the ones that play high-stakes fantasy football. They're okay.
The judges.
They actually get stuff done.
What are they doing? What is the judge doing? Nothing. He's just sitting there. Oh, write this up.
I don't know.
He has a paralegal write up the thing. Like, hey, say a bunch of this stuff and look it up, and then just write a bunch of gibberish, and I'll have somebody clean it up.
I don't want to throw lawyers and judges under the bus. I feel like they make this cursory phone call once a week to Roger Goodell, like, hey, Roger, just let me know when you're ready to, give me this information. I need to go ahead and, file this injunction or the reversal of the injunction or what have you. And Goodell's like, yeah, I'll get to it.
He's like, I'll get on that conjunction function soon.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but the president's on my ass about this national anthem thing. I sort of got to have priorities here.
We have our internal lawyers crafting some wording on what we're going to say to the players' union.
Right, exactly. DeMaurice Smith is like up in the club, like living it up, like, this is great, guys.
Wait till we get to the next collective bargaining agreement. This is amazing.
It's like, hey, Ezekiel, let's do a shot.
We're going to get 64% of revenues instead of 60%.
We are going to be handed a whole lot of slander suits after this show airs. That's going to do it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to Matthew Puskarich, the FPC leader, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Rice, you, Dave. Thanks for doing the show on a Wednesday for my commitment that I have on Friday. Thanks to everybody who was listening.
What are you doing?
And it's my in-laws' 40th wedding anniversary, so
For the love of God.
there's a big soiree planned Friday night that I have to attend.
Man, come on.
Nelson Verbit, our good friend Nelson Verbit, former co-host of this show, and David Hubbard will be on the High Stakes Lowdown next week. Look for that on Thursday. Look for the Darren Summer Nelson Sousa episode that is coming out Thursday morning, tomorrow morning. Rotoviz.com/podcast. You will not be back next Friday. I believe you are gone. Special co-host next Friday with yours truly. Yes. Yes. Well, you will be gone next Friday. I'm gone this Friday. At least we got the show in. Good luck in Week 6, everyone. Hopefully the ball's bouncing your way. And good luck with those bids. Your weekend starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Big dog stay on the porch, blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Where you get that from?
I think there's 3 catchphrases this show has come up with. 4 if you want to include. I got 5 on it, which I'm not.
Go ahead.
Get your guys.
Yucks.
Greetings and salutations, and your weekend starts now. Hopefully the balls bounce your way is getting to be one of them that's right up there.
They're no worse than the other 3.
That's a matter of interpretation. Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you next week.